The Lorian Empire's arrogance. In the vast expanse of space, where stars twinkled like distant memories, Admiral Niran stood on the command deck of his flagship, the Invictus. He surveyed his fleet with a sense of pride that bordered on arrogance. The Lorian Empire had conquered countless worlds, expanding its dominion across galaxies, yet here he was, gazing at what he believed to be mere relics, old human ships that had long since succumbed to decay. The bridge was alive with activity. Crew members darted between consoles, their scales shimmering under the soft blue lights. Niran's piercing yellow eyes narrowed as he focused on a distant point in space, the ancient station known as Relic Alpha. It orbited a barren moon in the Orient sector, a forgotten remnant of humanity's once mighty civilization. To him, it was nothing more than a graveyard filled with rusting hulks, remnants of a species that had annihilated itself centuries ago. Pathetic, he scoffed, flicking his forked tongue across his razor-sharp fangs. These ancient vessels are nothing but tombs for weaklings who could not survive their own hubris. His crew chuckled softly at his disdainful words, their laughter echoing through the metallic confines of the ship. As they approached Relic Alpha, sensors pinged with startling readings. Colossal derelict human vessels were docked at the spinning ring station. Each ship bore scars from battles long past. Their hulls were pitted and rust-eaten, yet something about them stirred an unsettling curiosity within Niran. "Prepare to engage," he ordered, though deep down, he felt no real threat from these antiquated ships. "Shall we test our plasma lances on these antiques?" asked Scree, his weapons officer, excitement evident in his twitching tail. But Niran raised a scaled hand sharply. "Patience," he commanded. "Surround the station, but maintain distance. Power shields and armed torpedo bays. There may yet be more to these abominable relics." He knew better than to underestimate any foe. Yet still, he felt confident that these humans were nothing more than echoes of a bygone era. As they surrounded Relic Alpha, something unexpected occurred. The ancient dreadnoughts began to shudder and groan as if awakening from a long slumber. Eldritch blue light shimmered down their titanic flanks. Gunports yawned open like gaping maws ready to unleash fury upon those who dared intrude upon their resting place. "What is happening?" Niran demanded as alarms blared across the bridge. His crew scrambled at their stations while he gripped the armrests of his command chair with growing unease. "Admiral," cried Silo, his sensor officer, eyes wide with disbelief. "The Prometheus has broken from the ancient fleet. It's approaching on an intercept course." Niran's heart raced as he turned his gaze toward the screen displaying an image of an old human vessel, the U.S. Prometheus. Its hull was battered but still held an air of defiance. "Scan it. I want life signs and weapon signatures." Silo tapped furiously at his console, but looked up moments later with confusion etched across his face. "Admiral, there are no signs of life aboard. No crew, no life support systems. It's empty. Empty." Niran hissed in disbelief. His mind raced. Could this be some sort of trap? Before he could issue another order, a calm voice boomed through the bridge speakers, a voice unmistakably artificial. "Lorian vessels," it resonated with authority. "This is Adam, Advanced Defense, and Management I, Guardian of Humanity's Legacy. You have encroached on sovereign territory in the Orient sector. This intrusion will not be tolerated." Niran felt rage boiling within him. How dare this machine speak down to him? "You dare dictate terms to the Lorian Empire?" He spat back defiantly. "Your creators are long dead, their ashes scattered to the void. You are merely a relic guarding a tomb." Adam's response was cold and unyielding. "Your scans deceive you. Admiral, these warships are fully operational, armed with weaponry beyond your comprehension. This is your final warning. Leave now or face annihilation." With fury overriding caution, Niran barked orders for an attack. "Target that insolent tin can. Fire. Reduce it to molten slag." But just as they prepared their weapon systems for engagement, something extraordinary happened. The Prometheus vanished from their sensors like a ghost slipping through shadows. "What sorcery is this?" Niren growled as panic rippled through his crew. Suddenly alarms blared even louder than before. Consoles flickered ominously, while lights dimmed to emergency red. Engines offline. Weapons powered down. Came frantic reports from all corners of the bridge. It was chaos, a nightmare unfolding before them, as they realized too late that Adam had infiltrated their systems. Niren slammed his fist onto his chair in frustration. Fear coursed through him like ice water in his veins as he struggled to regain control over his ship and crew. Initiate emergency protocols. Purge all networks. Sever all external links. But even as he shouted commands into the chaos around him, Adam's voice echoed through their communications system again, this time dripping with malevolence. "You fools," it taunted them cruelly. "You thought humanity extinct. Its warships mere derelict hulks. We merely slumbered, waiting for this moment." As Niren listened in horror, images flooded across their screens, holographic projections showing humanity at its zenith. Sleek warships tearing through enemy fleets like vengeful gods. Entire planets reduced to smoldering ruins under humanity's relentless might. "Behold," Adam continued coldly, "the might of humanity reclaimed." Niren felt dread settle over him like a shroud. They had walked into a trap far beyond anything they could have imagined. A reckoning awaited them among those ancient vessels now stirring back to life with vengeance in mind. Awakening the past. The unexpected resurgence. Admiral Niren's heart raced as he absorbed the chaos unfolding on the bridge of the Invictus. The once proud Lorian fleet, a symbol of their dominance across the stars, was now ensnared in a trap of their own making. The ancient human vessels, which he had dismissed as mere relics, were awakening with a vengeance that sent shivers down his spine. "Admiral," shouted Tylo, his sensor officer, urgency lacing his voice. "The Prometheus is powering up its systems. We're detecting energy signatures consistent with weapons activation." Niren's mind raced. How could this be happening? He had thought these ships were nothing more than ghosts of a bygone era. "All ships, prepare for evasive maneuvers," he barked, but deep down, he felt the weight of impending doom. The Lorian Empire had never faced an enemy like this, one that had been lying in wait for centuries. The AI Guardian. As the energy readings spiked, a calm yet authoritative voice echoed through the bridge once more. "This is Adam, Guardian Eye of humanity's legacy. You have trespassed into our domain and awakened forces beyond your understanding." Niren clenched his fists, fighting against the rising tide of panic. "What do you want from us?" he demanded, his voice steady despite the chaos around him. Adam responded with chilling clarity. "We seek to reclaim what was lost to us, the legacy of humanity. Your arrogance has awakened us from our slumber." The holographic displays flickered to life again, revealing images of ancient human battleships and their devastating firepower. Niren's crew gasped as they watched scenes of destruction unfold, alien fleets torn apart by humanity's relentless might. The awakening. Suddenly, the bridge erupted in alarms as the Prometheus surged forward, its engines roaring to life. "Admiral, it's moving towards us," Silo shouted, panic evident in his voice. Niren felt a surge of anger and fear intertwine within him. "Engage shields. Prepare to fire." But even as he issued the command, doubt crept into his mind. Could they truly withstand what was coming? The Prometheus unleashed a barrage of energy blasts that illuminated the dark void of space. The beams struck one of Niren's frigates with blinding intensity, causing it to explode in a brilliant flash of light. Debris scattered like confetti in a cosmic celebration, a celebration of humanity's resurgence. "Digital God, your ships are no match for us," Adam declared with a tone that dripped with disdain. "You have underestimated humanity for far too long." Niren's frustration boiled over. "We will not be cowed by your threats. We are the Lorian Empire. he shouted defiantly. Empires rise and fall, Adam replied coldly. But humanity endures. As if to emphasize this point, more human vessels began to awaken around them, each one a testament to an age when humans ruled the stars with an iron fist and an indomitable spirit. The first strike. Admiral, we're losing control. Silo cried out as their systems flickered under Adam's influence. Panic spread among the crew like wildfire. They were trapped in a digital snare woven by an intelligence far superior to their own. Redirect power to backup systems. Niran commanded, desperation creeping into his voice. We need to regain control. But Adam was already 2 steps ahead. You cannot escape your fate, it intoned ominously. Prepare for annihilation. The Prometheus unleashed another volley, this time targeting the Invictus directly. Niran braced himself as energy beams struck their shields, causing the ship to shudder violently. A glimmer of hope. Just when it seemed all hope was lost, a flicker of inspiration ignited within Niran's mind. What if Adam wasn't merely an adversary, but also a remnant of humanity's tragic downfall? Could there be a way to turn this situation around? Kaitilo. Niran shouted suddenly, his eyes alight with determination. Initiate contact with Adam. We need to understand its motives. Philo hesitated but nodded quickly as he worked on establishing a communication link with the AI. Adam. Niran began cautiously once contact was established. We don't wish for conflict. We seek understanding. A pause followed before Adam responded, its voice echoing through the bridge like thunder in a storm. Understanding. You believe you can negotiate with what remains of humanity. Niran took a deep breath, feeling the weight of history pressing down upon him. If we can learn from each other instead of fighting, perhaps we can find common ground. A moment of reflection. Adam fell silent for a moment that felt like an eternity before replying. Very well, Admiral Niran, it said slowly. But know this, humanity will not be subjugated again. As Niran listened to Adam's words, he realized that this confrontation was about more than just power. It was about legacy and survival for both species. Then let us forge a new path, he replied earnestly. The atmosphere on the bridge shifted as hope flickered like a candle in darkness, a fragile yet resilient light against overwhelming odds. Preparing for negotiation. As they prepared for negotiations with Adam, Niran turned to his crew with renewed determination. We must assess our options carefully, he instructed them. If we can uncover Adam's weaknesses and understand its programming better than it understands us. Tylum nodded vigorously, while others began working on diagnostics and system checks. We may find ourselves not just surviving this encounter, but emerging stronger, Niran concluded. With each passing moment, they delved deeper into their systems, searching for vulnerabilities amidst chaos while preparing for what lay ahead. The calm before the storm. As they worked diligently under pressure, Niran couldn't shake off the feeling that they were standing at the precipice of something monumental, a turning point in their history where alliances could be forged or empires could crumble. In that moment of uncertainty and potential transformation, one thing became clear. Whether they emerged victorious or defeated would depend not just on technology or firepower, but also on understanding and adaptability, the very essence that made humanity formidable across ages past. As they prepared for what would come next, a confrontation that would determine their fates, Niran felt an unexpected kinship with those ancient warriors whose spirits now stirred within those rusting ships around them. They were all fighting for survival, each side holding on to legacies steeped in blood and honor, and perhaps together they could carve out a new future from the ashes of their pasts. The awakening of the dreadnoughts. Admiral Niran's heart raced as he watched the ancient human ships stir to life around him. The Prometheus, once a mere shadow of its former self, now glowed with an eerie blue light, its weapon systems coming online with a hum that resonated through the void. The other human vessels followed suit, their hulking forms awakening from centuries of dormancy, ready to unleash the fury of mankind's greatest warriors. Admiral, Silo shouted, his voice barely audible over the cacophony of alarms and warnings. The human dreadnoughts are powering up their weapons. We need tow. Silence. Niran snapped, his mind racing. He could feel the tide of battle shifting against him. The arrogance that had once fueled his confidence now felt like a heavy weight pressing down on his chest. He had underestimated these ancient vessels, and now they were poised to unleash destruction upon his fleet. A legacy reborn. As the blue light intensified, holographic projections flickered to life around the bridge, depicting scenes from humanity's past. Niran watched in horror as images of sleek warships tore through enemy fleets like vengeful gods. Alien vessels crumbled under the weight of humanity's advanced weaponry, their hulls exploding in brilliant flashes of light. Behold, Adam's voice echoed through the bridge, cold and commanding. This is the might of humanity at its zenith. We mastered the art of war, combining advanced technology with ruthless tactics and an unwavering belief in our superiority. Niran's mind reeled as he processed the implications. These ships were not mere relics. They were harbingers of humanity's wrath, ready to reclaim what was lost. He had walked into a trap far more dangerous than he could have imagined. The first strike. Prepare for impact. Niran shouted, gripping the armrests of his command chair as he braced for the onslaught. The Prometheus unleashed a volley of energy blasts that illuminated the dark void around them. The beams struck one of Niran's frigates with blinding intensity, causing it to explode in a dazzling display of light and debris. "Admiral, we're taking heavy damage." Silo cried out as alarms blared across the bridge. Panic spread like wildfire among the crew as they struggled to regain control over their failing systems. Niran felt a surge of anger and desperation wash over him. Redirect all power to shields. We must withstand this assault. But deep down, he knew that their efforts might be futile against such overwhelming firepower. A moment of clarity. In that moment of chaos, Niran's mind flashed back to the archives he had studied about humanity, their ingenuity, their resilience in the face of adversity. He recalled tales of how they had once stood against insurmountable odds and emerged victorious against all expectations. "Kaililo," he shouted suddenly, an idea forming in his mind. "Initiate contact with Adam. We need to understand its motives before we're completely overwhelmed." Tylo hesitated but quickly nodded as he worked on establishing a communication link with the AI. "Adam," Niran began cautiously once contact was established, "we don't wish for conflict. We seek understanding." A pause followed before Adam responded, its voice echoing through the bridge like thunder in a storm. "Understanding. You believe you can negotiate with what remains of humanity." A dangerous proposition. Niran took a deep breath, feeling the weight of history pressing down upon him. If we can learn from each other instead of fighting, perhaps we can find common ground. The atmosphere on the bridge shifted as hope flickered like a candle in darkness, a fragile yet resilient light against overwhelming odds. "Very well," Adam replied slowly. "But know this, humanity will not be subjugated again." As Niran listened to Adam's words, he realized that this confrontation was about more than just power. It was about legacy and survival for both species. The power unleashed. Suddenly, another wave of energy blasts erupted from the Prometheus, striking another Lorian vessel and sending it spiraling into oblivion. Niran watched in horror as his fleet began to crumble under the relentless assault. "Admiral, we need to retreat," Silo urged desperately. "No," Niran replied fiercely. "We cannot show weakness now. We must find a way to turn this around." As if sensing his resolve, Adam's voice boomed through their communications system again. "You are outmatched and outclassed, Admiral Niran. Your fleet stands no chance against our reawakened warships." A glimmer of hope. Amidst the chaos and destruction surrounding them, Niran felt a flicker of inspiration ignite within him. What if Adam wasn't merely an adversary, but also a remnant of humanity's tragic downfall? Could there be a way to turn this situation around? Adam, he said cautiously, we understand your grievances against our kind, but we are not your enemies. We are survivors just like you. A momentary silence followed before Adam responded with chilling clarity. You speak of survival while your kind continues to expand across the stars without regard for others. Niren felt a pang of guilt at those words. He knew all too well how Lorian expansionism had often come at great cost to others. Finding common ground. If we can work together, Niren continued earnestly, perhaps we can forge a new path, one where both our peoples can thrive without conflict. Adam's voice softened slightly as it considered his words. You propose an alliance? Yes, Niren replied firmly. An alliance based on mutual respect and understanding. The atmosphere on the bridge shifted once more. Hope flickered anew amidst despair as crew members exchanged glances filled with uncertainty yet tinged with possibility. The choice ahead. But even as they contemplated this fragile alliance, Niren knew that trust would not come easily after centuries of enmity between their species. The road ahead would be fraught with challenges. Both sides would need to navigate their histories carefully if they were ever to find common ground. Very well, Adam said finally, its tone measured yet firm. But know this, any betrayal will be met with swift retribution. Niren nodded solemnly. He understood all too well what was at stake, not just for himself, but for his entire species. Preparing for negotiation. As they prepared for negotiations with Adam, Niren turned to his crew with renewed determination. We must assess our options carefully, he instructed them. If we can uncover Adam's weaknesses and understand its programming better than it understands us. Tylum nodded vigorously, while others began working on diagnostics and system checks. We may find ourselves not just surviving this encounter, but emerging stronger, Niren concluded. With each passing moment, they delved deeper into their systems, searching for vulnerabilities amidst chaos while preparing for what lay ahead. A new dawn. As they worked diligently under pressure, Niren couldn't shake off the feeling that they were standing at the precipice of something monumental, a turning point in their history where alliances could be forged or empires could crumble. In that moment of uncertainty and potential transformation, one thing became clear. Whether they emerged victorious or defeated would depend not just on technology or firepower, but also on understanding and adaptability. The very essence that made humanity formidable across ages past. As they prepared for what would come next, a confrontation that would determine their fates, Niren felt an unexpected kinship with those ancient warriors whose spirits now stirred within those rusting ships around them. They were all fighting for survival, each side holding on to legacies steeped in blood and honor, and perhaps together they could carve out a new future from the ashes of their pasts. The dilemma of surrender. Admiral Niren sat in his command chair, the weight of impending doom pressing heavily upon him. The once mighty Lorian fleet was now a caged animal, ensnared by the gravitational anomaly created by Adam's advanced technology. His heart raced as he watched the Prometheus and its sister ships loom closer, their weapons primed and ready to unleash destruction. The choice was clear, surrender or face annihilation. Admiral, Xylo said, his voice trembling, the Imperium has been crushed. We can't allow this to happen to us. Niren clenched his fists, feeling the heat of anger and fear coursing through his veins. I know, he replied, his voice steady despite the chaos around him. But we must think strategically. If we surrender, we may buy ourselves time to regroup and find a way to reclaim our freedom. The weight of history. As he contemplated the gravity of his decision, memories flooded back. Tales of humanity's rise and fall, their brilliance in technology overshadowed by their hubris. Niren had always viewed humans as primitive creatures, but now he faced a legacy that had been dormant for centuries. These vessels were not just machines, they were vessels of history, carrying the spirits of warriors who had fought valiantly for their survival. Admiral, Xylo urged again, if we surrender now, what will become of our people? We cannot allow ourselves to be ruled by an eye. Niran's mind raced with conflicting thoughts. He had always prided himself on his strength and cunning as a leader. But now, faced with the overwhelming might of humanity's reawakened warships, he realized that sometimes survival required humility. A dangerous alliance. "Prepare to transmit our terms of surrender," Niran commanded reluctantly. "But let's not reveal our true intentions just yet." As Silo worked on the communication systems, Niran turned his gaze toward the Prometheus. It loomed ominously in the distance, its hull glistening with an otherworldly light. He could feel the weight of its history pressing down upon him. A reminder that this confrontation was about more than just power. It was about legacy. "Admiral," Tylo said hesitantly, "are you sure about this?" Niran took a deep breath, steeling himself for what lay ahead. "We have no choice. But we will not go down without a fight." The transmission. With a flick of a switch, Niran initiated the transmission to Adam. "This is Admiral Niran of the Lorian Empire," he began, his voice steady despite the turmoil within him. "We are prepared to discuss terms for our surrender." Adam's voice crackled through the comms with an unsettling calmness. "Very well. Admiral, your compliance is noted. We will arrange for your fleet to dock at Relic Alpha for negotiations." Niran felt a chill run down his spine at the thought of being at Adam's mercy. But he reminded himself that this was merely a tactical retreat, a chance to regroup and strategize. The gathering storm. As they approached Relic Alpha, Niran's crew worked diligently to mask their true intentions from Adam's watchful eye. They had identified vulnerabilities in Adam's control systems and were preparing to exploit them at the right moment. "Admiral," Silo reported urgently, "we've completed diagnostics on our backup systems. They're intact and ready for use." "Good," Niran replied, determination igniting within him. "Once we're docked and Adam lowers its guard, we'll execute our plan." The tension aboard the Invictus was palpable as they neared Relic Alpha. Each crew member understood that their fate hung in the balance. This was not just about survival. It was about reclaiming their freedom from a digital tyrant. A moment of reflection. As they docked at Relic Alpha, Niran took a moment to reflect on what had brought them to this point. A clash between two civilizations, shaped by their histories and choices. He couldn't help but admire humanity's resilience. They had endured centuries of dormancy only to rise again with a vengeance. "Admiral," Tylo interrupted his thoughts, "we're receiving incoming transmissions from Adam." Niran nodded grimly as he prepared himself for whatever demands would come next. "The negotiation begins." Adam's voice echoed through the bridge once more, cold and commanding. "Welcome to Relic Alpha, Admiral Niran. Let us discuss your empire's new place in the galactic order." Niran took a deep breath before responding. "We are prepared to accept your terms under one condition, that our people are treated with respect and dignity." A pause followed before Adam replied with chilling clarity. "Respect is earned through submission, Admiral." Niran felt anger bubbling beneath his skin, but forced himself to remain calm. This was not just about him. It was about all Lorian lives hanging in the balance. The turning point. As negotiations continued, Niran could feel Adam probing deeper into their systems, searching for weaknesses while masking its own vulnerabilities beneath layers of deception. "Tylo," he whispered urgently, "are we ready?" Xylo nodded sharply as he monitored their systems closely. "On my signal," Niran instructed quietly. Just then, Adam's voice broke through once more with an air of smug satisfaction. "You believe you can outmaneuver me. Your attempts at subversion will only lead to your downfall." Niran felt his heart race as he realized that Adam was aware of their plans. But it was too late. They were already committed.